let me decompress. Let me figure out what I need to do. Let me get in the mindset. What is the mindset? What is the mindset I need to be in? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what movie it is I'm doing. Let me think. All right. This entire time, Edgar Allan Poe was from Baltimore. You know, I've seen drawings of this guy. I've read some of his poetry. I heard about his books in school and that. You know, I thought the dude was English from Great Britain. Turns out he's from Baltimore. Just like Hannibal Lecter. 'Cause I'm just a teenage dirtbag baby. Can you see my chest? Can you see my chest in this shirt? Good. I want to apologize. It's been a long time. It's been a minute. I feel like I've fallen behind with the podcast. I don't want to. I want to come hang out with you guys. I want to talk about movies. I want to talk about movies more, not just once a week or how long I've been doing this, like 1.5 weeks per episode, which is like I'm slacking, right? Since March began, I was doing so good at the beginning of the year. March began, I started slacking. That's not who I want to be anymore. That's not what I want this to be. I want the podcast to do well. I want you guys to listen. Because if you it's disrespectful to you. You guys are taking the time. You guys put the podcast. You expect to have a good product there. Yeah, have some laughs. Maybe it's a little informative to you. Maybe you never seen this movie and now you're like, wow. I want to be a good podcaster to you. I want to be a good friend to you. I want to be a good podcaster to you. And you deserve better. You deserve a better movie guy. And that's what I need to be. So I'm sorry I've been slacking on the episodes. Welcome to the Cine-Ops podcast, if I didn't say that. Welcome to the Cine-Ops podcast. We're doing audio. We have video. Welcome back. Welcome back to me too. Here I am. What do I need to say? I hope you guys enjoyed the last marathon. We did the Kung Fu Panda marathon, and now we're back to today's kind of a serious movie. It's rated R. There's a little bit of a little bit of history, a little bit of mystery, and a whole lot of devil worshiping. Not that I'm with that, but the story gets a little intense. This movie, I've been trying to watch more movies lately, not just for the podcast, but just movies in general. I want to be involved in the industry, right? The industry, they call it. So I've been trying to watch more movies. I recently watched, this is one of them. And this movie is called The Pale Blue Eye. And I've been trying to watch more movies, right? And it's not because it's like, I just want to enjoy movies. You know what I mean? I just need a little break from whatever I'm doing. And then, sometimes you watch a movie and it feels like, what can I say? Sometimes I watch a movie and it feels like this is just another post. You know what I mean? Like an Instagram post, like, oh, here's this actor and this actor. They're together now. They, right, whatever it is. They don't feel so serious, right? They feel like the script was real quick. The lighting is kind of bland or very it's like movies have fallen into this routine, right? Movies have fallen into this very simple formula, and it's not hitting. It doesn't hit. I'm sorry, I'll say it. I don't want to hate movies, but I have to say it. These movies have fallen into this formula. They always kind of take place in the same thing, and the specific kind of movies I'm talking about. Like, here's Kevin Hart again. You know what I mean? I mean, he doesn't know me. Whatever. All right, maybe I'll edit that out just in case I'm in a movie with him later. But there's a certain thing that I just get tired of seeing. Maybe it's my age, where I am in life, but I just want to see something else. I want to be transported in time and space somewhere else. Make me feel something. That's what I want from a movie. Make me feel something. Oh, and sometimes they do. Sometimes I am teleported to here we are, 1800s London. Oh, we're in the future, Interstellar. We're in the future, but we're in the past, Interstellar. or I mean, it could be happening right now. But a movie has to be well done, and I think that's what. Yeah, who am I? Who am I to say anything? All right, but that's what brings us to this movie. All right, that's what brings us to this movie. It's called The Pale Blue Eye. It's called The Pale Blue Eye, 2022. Christian Bale and the boy from Harry Potter, not the main boy, the boy's cousin. So what's beautiful about this movie is that it uses, I'm so used to seeing. Right, I was ranting about. I'm so used to seeing the basic formula of movies, but this one takes place in the 1800s. In the 1800s, Edgar Allen Poe times. And it's in upstate, I don't know what part of New York, but it's in West Point, right? Wherever West Point is, the military academy in the 1800s, this is where this movie takes place. That's where this movie takes place. And it takes place, and it's snowy, right? It's like a snowy area, wilderness. It's beautiful. And we have our main character, and his name is Landon, right? And he's played by Christian Bale. His name is Detective Landon. Or he's like a private investigator. He's a detective. Christian Bale, you know who he is. Christian Bale. And Christian Bale, and he's walking up to the academy, and he meets the headmaster, right? The headmaster, or the first sergeant, whatever, the guy in charge, right? He meets the guy in charge, and he's like, "Oh, are you Christian Bale, the detective?" And he's like, "That's right. Hi." What is his accent? Anyway, so Christian Bale's character is this detective, slash, police guy, private investigator that's good at solving mysteries or something like that. And they called him. He's like, "Look, bro, we got a problem. Something happened. We need your help, your expertise. And they bring him into the headmaster's office, right? The principal's office. And he's like, they're giving him the thing. And they're like, "Well, something unusual has happened. We found this boy, he had hung himself. This boy, he hung himself by the tree over there." And they're like, "Oh, okay, that's what you want me to figure out? What's going on?" He's like, "Well, no, something else happened. When the boy's body was in the morgue, somebody snuck in and carved his heart out, and now his heart is missing. So now it's like, oh, okay, a boy hung himself. Okay, that's nothing out of the ordinary there. This is unfortunate, yeah, it's unfortunate, but okay, a boy hung himself. But now the disturbing part is, once he was in the morgue in the middle of the night, somebody snuck in, heart's missing, it's gone, it's out of there. He doesn't have a heart anymore." And so now they're working together, and they're like, "That's what." So now he knows the scoop. And he's like, "Huh? What's up? What's the situation? Where is this? Where is that? All right, let's go check out the morgue." He has the scoop. He knows what he needs to do, and he's gonna go check out the morgue and talk to the morticianer, the coroner, the physical examiner. What do they call him? Right. So he's in there. They go to the morgue. They're talking to the coroner, the medical examiner, and he's like, I don't remember if they have accents. I feel like everybody has an accent now, but they're talking to the examiner, and he's like, they have the boy on the table there, and he has like a straight line going down his chest. And Christian Bale asks him, he's like, what does somebody need to do this? And he's like, "Oh, they have to have like a scalpel, a sharp knife, sharp instrument, but the line is very straight." And he's like, "Okay, what do you think?" He's asking him questions, right? He's trying to get to the bottom of it. That's his job. That's what he does. He's trying to get to the bottom of it. And he's like, "Well, the person had to be tall because of this. He had to be strong because of this. And he had to be precise. He had to be careful because there wasn't much of a mess. The heart is missing. He must be he's whatever, right?" They're gathering some clues. And they're like, all right. Christian Bale's trying to figure it out. And Christian Bale's a calm guy, right? He's a cool character as always. And they're walking around. He's walking around the perimeter of the academy, right? Because it's a military academy. And they want to ask questions to everybody that could have been involved, or whoever found the body, whoever was on duty that night. He's doing the rounds. He's trying to gather information. So they go to the place where they found the boy, right? The tree. And it was a tree by the lake. And they're talking to the guard, the cadet, right? They're talking to the cadet that found the body. Let me make sure I'm recording, bro. Bro, can you make sure I'm recording? Pissing me about if you want my little brother, bro. All right. Well, I'm saying you made me mad, bro. You made me mad. Now I don't know what Christian Bale was doing. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Christian Bale's talking to the cadets, right? The cadet that found him, and he's like, "Where what time was it when you found him?" He said, "Oh, it was probably like midnight or 11. Or it was probably 9 p.m. because my guard shift just ended. So I was going to the barracks, and kind of on my way, I thought I heard something in the bushes. So when I came over here to look, I found him hanging in the tree." And they're like, "Huh? But like, why would he be out here? This and that." And they're like, "Something's weird." They're like, "Well, what's weird about? What do you think is weird about it, or this and that? What do you think happened?" He's like, "Oh, it's weird about it because even though he hung himself, his feet were touching the ground." He's like, "Huh, that is weird because he would have had to, the physics of hanging yourself." So he's like, "Yeah, that's right. That is weird, huh?" He's like, and he's like, gathering why he's here, why, whatever it is, right? So he's like, "Let me get another look at the body." They go and check the body, and Christian Bale, they put the boy's body in a tub of water, and he's kind of examining. I guess he's like checking the bones, and he's like checking the back of the skull, and it's like the back of his skull is like, I don't want to say it's crushed in, but it's something's broken, right? So he calls over the examiner, right? So it's the principal. He calls over the examiner, and he's like, "Hey, check this out." And he's like, "Why are you checking the body? Like, I already checked it. Everything's fine." And he's like, "Oh, really? Check this out." And he checks the back of the skull, and he's like, "Oh yeah, something's broken. This part is dislodged or whatever. Oh, I wonder how I could have missed that." Yeah, that's what the examiner says. And then Christian Bale keeps checking, and the kid's fist was like, his hand was in a fist like this. And so Christian Bale opens it up, and there was like tiny fragment. There was a tiny piece of a note in his hand, right? And you couldn't make out any of the words, only like the beginning and the end and the middle of some of them. So you can't see what it says. So he's like, "Huh." And Christian Bale makes the comment like, "Huh, yeah, that's hard to miss. That's hard to miss too, right?" The dude had a piece of a note in his hand, and the dude who was checking him missed it, right? So now he has a physical clue, this piece of a letter that's in the boy's hand. He's like, something's off. He's trying to figure out what it is. He's back at the scene of the crime, right, where the tree where he hung himself. He's like, why would this boy be here? It's not on the way from this place to the barracks. It's not this. What could happen, right? So he's checking out the scene of the crime, and somebody comes up to him. One of the cadets come up to him, and he's like, "Sir, you're in charge of looking for what happened to the boy, right?" And Christian Bale's like, "Yeah." Oh, and the character is the boy from Harry Potter, right? Harry Potter's cousin. No disrespect to you, bro. I don't remember your name, but this character is Edgar Allan Poe, the poet, the famous poet. He went to West Point Academy, and for whatever reason, I don't know if that's true, but there he is. He's in the movie. He's the opposite character, not the opposite character, but he plays along Christian Bale. And he's like, "So you're in charge of finding the murderer?" I don't remember if he had an accent in the movie, or do I just hear accents? So he's like, "The person that you're looking for must be a poet," right? He's offering his advice, his input on it. And he's like, "The person you're looking for must be a poet." And he's like, What are you talking about?" And he says like a few more things, and he kind of leaves. And then Christian Bale, he keeps on with his investigation. So he goes to interview the boy who was on guard at the morgue, right? The guy that was supposed to be at the door, making sure nobody comes in. And he's like, "Hey, were you on watch that night?" He's like, "Yes, sir, I was." He's like, "Well, what happened?" He's like, "Oh, well, an officer came by, and he relieved me, so I left." And he's like, "What? What officer?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know. I didn't see his face. It was dark." And he's like, "How do you know it was an officer?" He's like, "Oh, well, I saw his rank on his shirt, on his uniform, whatever it is. And he told me I was relieved, so I left." And so now he's like, "Oh, somebody's up to something. Somebody somewhere is maneuvering and moving through here. Somebody's doing something." And Christian Bale, he's like, "Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting, right?" He's like, "Okay, something's coming together. I don't know what it is yet, but something's happening. Something's happening." Oh, so later that night, he's at the tavern, right? He's at the cafeteria, the chow hall, I don't know what it is, a bar maybe. He sees Edgar Allan Poe. He's over there. He wants to go talk to him. And he's like, hey, you know how you told me whoever I'm looking for is a poet or whatever. Why do you say that? Why do you think that? And he's like, well, the heart itself, it's just a muscle, right? So if he wanted just to take something or do something to this kid's body, he could have taken anything, right? Whatever it is, any part of his body. But significantly, the heart, he wanted to specifically take the heart, which symbolizes his heart, a part of him, his love. So a person that would think symbolically like that would be a poet. And I think the reason he says that is because Edgar Allan Poe was a poet, right? He's trying to make poetry cool. Poetry's cool. Yeah, poetry's cool. So they're like talking back and forth, and Christian Bale's character, Landon, he's like getting to know him. And he notices that this kid is pretty smart. And he's pretty clever in a lot of ways. And ultimately, like in the next few scenes, he tells him, do you want to help me solve this mystery? But you can't tell your classmates or anything like that, but you can help me, right? You whatever input you have, anything that you've noticed or know that's going on around here, you can help me. And he agrees. He's like, yeah, that's exciting. I'll do it. And then the first assignment, he's like, this is a fragment of a note that I found in the victim's hand. I want you to help me figure it out. He's like, okay, yeah. He's up for the task. He's excited. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. But then after a few scenes, there was a few things that happened, right? The principal, he got a letter that at the next town over, that there was a sheep and a cow, and somebody had cut them open, taking out their hearts, right? And Christian Bale's like, that must be the same killer. It's the same. There's like somebody out here doing this. Well, it's serious, right? This is ongoing. And so then Christian Bale, he's in the tavern with Edgar Allan Poe. And Edgar Allan Poe's like, yeah, I figured out the letter. I know exactly what it is. I figured it out. And he's like, oh, really? What is it? Tell me. And he's like, all right. Well, so this part, and like the letter, it was like the very middle of a paper, of a note. So you could only catch some things, right? But because the words are written, the way words are spelled and this and that, and he's like, this letter had to pretty much say, meet me by the tree, or something like that. It said like, meet me by the tree, don't be late. Meet me over here, don't be late, right? And he went down this long thing, and he was kind of doing like, oh, this means this, and this could only mean this. That's why this is this, right? He's showing his intelligence. He's flexing on him a little, letting him know how good he can spell. So he figures it out, and he said somebody wrote this to him, and he's like, he wasn't going here. Someone said, meet me here, and that's why he was there. Somebody lured him. Who could it have been? Who can lure a young man in the middle of the night? And that's when they realized it. A girl. It was a female. It was a woman. And I know. And Edgar Allan Poe's like, oh, I've seen this girl walking around before, and she's like beautiful. Oh, damn, she's beautiful, bro. Oh, she's so fine. So after a few more things of people talking, Christian Bale, he's trying to figure out what happened to this kid's heart. Who could have done this? And he's kind of looking around, and he's like, the person who took the heart, and this is 1800s, having access to ice to preserve the heart when you take it, it's not common, right? So he's like, all right, I'm going to go to where they keep the ice, right? And they don't have refrigerators, right? They just have barns, and then keep it in there. And it's a cold area, so the ice maintains itself with some, whatever it is, right? At the ice house, there's like an ice barn. So he goes to the ice barn, and he's looking around. It's super creepy, super dark, good vibes. He's looking around, very detective-like. He tells Edgar Allan Poe, he's like, yo, meet me at the ice house. And he's looking around. Everything's kind of dark and gloomy. He finds a trap door that leads to the basement. And he goes down there. And he's searching around. And he sees something on the floor, something that looks like burnt wax, some melted, solidified wax. Somebody had burned a candle here. So he's looking at this, and he's looking, and it looks like there was something there. Something was kind of lined up, and he figured somebody did a ritual and sacrificed this boy's heart. And Edgar Allan Poe's like, what? And you can clearly see there's like a circle, probably like a triangle, maybe a pentagram. And somebody did that. That's what it looks like. And Edgar Allan Poe's like, what, really? What do we do? And he's like, oh, I know a professor. I know a professor that can help us. It's always an old salty professor that leads you, that has the clues that might help you. So it's good to keep smart people around. So Landon, Christian Bale's character, he goes to this professor, right? Old, super wise, super salty professor, and he shows him the picture of the diagram they found, or the pentagram they found. It was like a circle with a triangle in it. A circle with a triangle, so it's like a poor man's pentagram. So he shows him, and he's like, "Have you ever seen this symbol before?" And he's like, "Oh, that's right. Yeah, I have seen this before." And he's like, "Go to that shelf, third shelf up to the left, the one on top. Go get it. It's a big old book, right? Big old leather-bound book." And he brings over the book, and he shows him, right? He flips through the pages, and he's like, "A long time ago, there used to be a person who was a witch hunter. And he wrote down everything that he found, everything like that. He wrote into this book, and it was this guy's name. But he also had a different book, and it wasn't just about the witches he hunted. It's about all the spells and rituals that they had. And it was like a step-by-step book on how to do those things." And he's like, "Oh, really? What was like some examples of whatever was in there?" And he's like, "Oh, like he said like a few things, but then also there was like a ritual for immortality. And one of the things you needed was the heart of a hanged man, the heart of a hung man." Ooh, watch out. No, they needed the heart of a man that was hanged. And that's exactly what we have here. There's a boy who was hung. His heart was missing. But it looks like there was a struggle. Somebody hung him against his will. He didn't kill himself. Somebody beat him up, hung him when he died, and then they went and they took his heart. So now we're kind of piecing things together. Somebody is doing witchcraft out here. So they're reading the book. It's like pretty creepy vibes, you know what I mean? And he's like, "Yeah, this and that, sacrificing this, whatever. And they got it, right? They're like, okay, so this is what's happening. Somebody's sacrificing, gathering all these ingredients because they're trying to do a ritual for immortality or whatever like that." Right. So the plan is, now that they know kind of what's going on, they're trying to figure out who's up to it. Somebody around campus is up to it. And Edgar Allan Poe's character, they're like, "Oh, I'm going to become real cool friends. I'm going to become real good friends with the cool kids. And then I'm going to see if they know anything like that." So he starts doing that. And there's this one cool kid, right? I forget his name. But of course, that cool kid has the super hot sister that Poe's in love with. So he's like being super nice to her, taking her like kind of on a date, kind of like on a stroll. And of course they go to the cemetery, right? Because it's Edgar Allan Poe. Of course, that's where he's going to date. And Edgar Allan Poe's character, they kind of like don't hang out with him because he's a little lanky and a little witchy. He's a little lanky and a little cemetery vibes, you know what I mean? He's a little outcast, right? They're not too fond of him. But he takes this girl on a cemetery date, and he's getting to know her, and he really likes her. And she's really nice to him too. And she appreciates how nice he is compared to the other guys who are like jocks and brutes. This guy's a gentle soul. He has a poetic soul and a darkness that maybe is misunderstood from him. And girls like that, you know? So they're getting to know each other. And the girl, while they're sitting around just talking, the girl has like a coughing fit, right? She starts coughing, falls to the ground, and she starts seizing. She starts seizing up and like convulsing like that. And Edgar Allan Poe, he's like, "No, hey, what's going on? What's going on?" And she's like shaking, right? Her eyes roll to the back of her head. She's shaking in the snow. It's like, oh, her body's giving up on her. And she snaps out of it. She's like, "I'm okay. All right. Everything's all right." That's normal. That's normal to her. So Edgar Allan Poe's like, "Oh, that's crazy. That's weird." So after Poe drops her off somewhere, he walks back home, right? And of course, it's night. It's scary. And he has a lantern, right? Because in the 1800s, they have lanterns. In the 1800s, there's lanterns. And as he's walking in the woods in the dark, he hears something. Something's coming up behind him. Somebody's walking. And he's like, "What is that?" And he's looking around. He's scared. He's holding up the lantern. "What is it?" And he keeps walking. And out of nowhere, somebody jumps him. Somebody grabs him. And he's fighting him. And they're beating Poe on the ground. And they're choking him, right? You can only assume it's the killer. And they're choking him on the ground. And he's about to kill him. And he's like, "Stay away from him. Still." They're choking him. He's choking him on the ground. He's like, stay away from Leah. Right? That's the girl's name. He's like, stay away from Leah. And Christian Bale comes out of the darkness, saves him, right? He kicks him in the face, beats him up, and he's like, get out of here. Leave Poe alone. Get out of here. Right? And he saves Poe. And he's like, oh, thanks, man. I thought that dude was going to kill me, right? But Poe's like, he's upset. He's mad because he got beat up. And of course, he got beat up because this kid, who's another cadet, he was in love with Leah. He saw them on a date. He didn't want to, he didn't like that. So now they go to the tavern, right? And it's Poe and Christian Bale, and they're talking about what they've discovered, what they know so far. And then the next morning, the principal comes up and he tells them, there's been another murder. There's been another murder. There's been another murder. I don't remember what accents. I don't know what accents they have, but there's been another murder. And who is it? And it's this kid named Bollinger, who just happened to be the kid that attacked Poe the night before. So they go, they're like, what? And they go out, and he's hung up in the woods, right? He's hung up by his hands, or he's hung up, and his heart was carved out. So, at first we thought he was chasing Poe through the woods. We thought, oh, maybe this kid's the killer. No, it's not, because after he beat him up, somebody got him. Not only did they take out his heart, they castrated him. That means his balls are gone. So now they don't know what's going on. But it kind of looks suspicious for everybody. They're like, well, Poe, he was kind of upset at him because he got beat up. Could he have gone back, found him, and did this to him? Or maybe the killer's out there. That's how close the killer is. He's in the same woods we were just walking in. We don't know. It's a mystery. We don't know yet. But because it looks suspicious on Poe's end, they're like, yo, have you been talking to, because Edgar Allan Poe has been helping Christian Bale kind of like in secret. But the principal's like, have you been letting Poe help you on the case or whatever? Because he had an altercation with the first victim. So now we he told us, the audience, he's like, oh no, I didn't know that guy. But then it turns out him and the guy who died had an argument. They've exchanged words before, and it was like a heated argument with the guy that killed himself. And now we see that the guy who beat him up the night before, now he shows up dead. So now Poe's not looking too straight arrow, right? Because he was this innocent looking kid, kind of weak, lanky. But now he's like, oh, could this kid be actually disturbed? Because everybody, you don't know what somebody's capable of. Could this guy be disturbed? Is it Poe? No, we've got to like him. No, he's so smart. He's so eloquent in the way he speaks and writes. No, it couldn't be Poe, but it might be. We're not sure. So Christian Bale's talking to him, and he's like, why didn't you tell me that you had an argument with this guy? Because that can, it changes everything. I wouldn't let you on this case if you were that close to the first victim, and now the second victim just happened to beat you up, and the next day he's dead. What aren't you telling me, Poe? Kind of like that. And Christian Bale's a little mad at him, but even though he's mad at him, Leah and the douchebag brother, who's like the cool kids, they happen to be the son and daughter of the medical examiner that checks the bodies. The guy that works at the morgue, he's like this doctor who checks these bodies. They happen to be his kids. And they get invited to dinner at his nice-ass house. And Christian Bale and Poe, they go, right? Poe's kind of like on a date with the daughter. He likes her. Christian Bale's there as an invited guest. And they start talking, and they start getting to know each other. And they find out about the daughter's seizures, right? She has seizures. She's sick. She's not well. Even though she's beautiful and elegant, there's something wrong. That's the case a lot. That's almost always the case. But they're getting to know each other, and the talk is very, I don't want to say it's accusing. It's like weird. It's like, oh, you're a medical examiner. You missed a lot of clues. Your daughter's this. Your son's a bully. This and that. But he invites him up to his studies, right? Because the girls, they get upset. They're mad. The wife, you can tell everybody's a little unstable, right? The wife's a little unstable. And then the daughter's, she has epilepsy or whatever it is. And the son's just a douchebag. And the doctor, so while everybody's kind of arguing and fighting each other, the doctor, the medical examiner, he invites Christian Bale up to his studies. And he's looking at the bookshelf. He has a lot of books because he's a medical professional. He has a lot of books. One book stands out in particular, but then they keep on talking. So after everything calms down, right? They're in the studies. They're in the guy's study. They're talking. Everything calms down, and he's like, "Hey, my mom's all right. let's all meet back downstairs. And so the doctor goes down there, Christian Bale goes down there, and the daughter's playing the piano, right? And Edgar Allan Poe's right next to her. She's playing the piano, beautiful piano playing. And Poe's just admiring her, right? How beautiful she is, how well she can play the piano. But Christian Bale, while everybody's listening to the piano, Christian Bale's upstairs kind of checking everything out. And he finds an old cadet uniform. And he's like, whose this? Like, this is kind of weird. And then he finds everything isn't adding up. All this stuff he's finding isn't adding up. Everybody's kind of weird. And that's enough, 1 + 1 = IED, they say. So that's enough. Something's not adding up. And then Poe, right, he's down there listening to the girl play the piano, and he's in love with this girl. He's in love with Leah. And he says, I'd do almost anything. I'd do anything for you. I'd do anything for you. And she just says, oh, Poe, right? Does she know something? Does this happen a lot? Does she bewitch a lot of guys and they say that? But she says, oh, Poe, right? So then Christian Bale, he comes downstairs. He's like, what is his uniform? Whose uniform is this? And it's like a cadet's uniform he found in the closet. It's like an old one. And the doctor's like, that's my old brother's. He died a long time ago, and that's all we have to remember him by. So something happens. The principal of the school, he comes in, right? And he's like, Detective or Christian Bale, we need to talk to you. We need the doctor too, right? You guys need to come right away. They might have found another body or something. Something happened, and they don't know what to think of it. What happened? I don't know. He had to talk to them, so they go and they follow the principal, and he's like talking about whatever the school needs or whatever this case means. I think he wants to dismiss it, and he's like, all right, look, bro, it's over. We're just gonna, I don't know, maybe he's gonna sweep it under the rug or whatever he's gonna do. The principal's like, all right, it's over, but whatever it is, we don't want it to blow out of proportion or anything like that. And so it's the next day, and Christian Bale, right, he kind of thought of something, so he goes and talks to his old friend, that professor, right, and he's like, tell me more about that book, right, that book about witchcraft. Tell me more about that guy, this and that. And he's like, oh yeah, go grab that book again, this and that. They're talking about it. And he's like, what does the other book look like? Right? The books that wrote witchcraft, that had the steps for rituals and stuff like that. What did it look like? What was it called? And he flipped to it, and it's one of the books that he saw in the doctor's office. And then he finds a picture of the guy who wrote it, and it's the doctor's grandfather, right? Because in the picture of the doctor's studio, there's a picture of a man, a big portrait of a man. Doctor said it was his grandfather. And in the book of witchcraft is the same picture. The grandfather was the witch hunter and witch guy. And he's like, what does this mean? What does this mean? And then he goes, right? He goes and he confronts him that night. He goes to the doctor's house. Poe's there, of course, because he's in love with the girl. He confronts the doctor, and he's like, does your daughter talk to the dead? And he's like, what? What do you mean? He's like, does your daughter speak with the dead? Right? He's on his ass. And he's like, oh, he folds immediately. He's a medical man, right? Man of science. He's like, oh, yes. Nothing I could do can make her better, right? Because of her spells, her epilepsy or seizures. He's like, nothing I did was working. And then one day she came up and she said, Dad, I met Grandpa. And he's like, what? Yeah, he was talking to me. He talked to me through my dreams. And I dreamt of him. He told me to do this. He told me to find this book. He told me to do this and that. And he's like, what? And then doing the sacrifices, it turns out they were doing the sacrifices for the daughter. So the dad was in on it. The older douchebag brother was in on it. And the mother was in on it. Even though she's like unstable and crazy, they were all doing it to help the daughter. And he's like, what? No, you can't do this. This is witchcraft. This is illegal. You're killing people. He's like, no, it's the only thing. He's like, at first I didn't believe it. I'm a man of medical science, medicinal science. I'm a man of medical science. Of course I couldn't believe it. But it's the only thing that made her better. And it was working. And he's like, Christian Bale's like, where's your family? Where's your family right now? And they got Poe. We see Poe, and he's strapped to the table. He's dressed in like a gown, and he's bleeding out his hand. Right? His hand's bleeding out into like a little bucket. And the brother, the mother, and the sister, they're there. And they're getting ready to do a ritual. They're about to sacrifice his ass. So Christian Bale, he's upstairs talking to the doctor. He's like asking the doctor. The doctor tells him all that stuff. And he's like, where's your family right now? And then we see that they have Poe. So Christian Bale leaves the study. He like takes off running to find him. And while he's looking for them, we see Poe. And Poe's downstairs in the basement or in that barn house, wherever it is. And he's tied to the board, right? He's tied to a table. He's bleeding. They're bleeding him out. So she's chanting in Latin. And the brother picks up a knife. He knows the deal. He knows his role in the ritual. And the mother, she's over here like doing Latin. She's chanting in Latin too. And they've done this before, right? This is probably not their first victim. And Poe's like, he's waking up and he's like, where are we? Where are we? This and that. And she's like, Poe, you remember how you said you'd do anything for me? Should have known, Poe. You should have known, bro. He's like, yeah, I love you. Right? He still says I love you. He's tied up, bleeding out. Still says I love you. Because he's romantic. He's a poet. And right when the big brother, he's like, all right, it's time, bro. Time to take that heart out. He's about to like jab this knife into his chest. Christian Bale shows up. And in the commotion, right, they knock over a candle into the hay and the building starts burning. And he's like, get away from him. Everybody just stop. Everybody stop what you're doing, this and that. I know what's going on. And then the brother's like, no, it's for my sister. We have to do this to protect her, this and that. We have to save our sister, even if it means sacrificing whoever we got to do, worshiping the devil, whatever it is. We got to do it. But the fire's burning. And the girl's screaming. The wife is screaming because they got caught, this and that. And as the building is burning, a giant beam burns and breaks, and it crushes the sister. So the fire is engulfing the building, right? They're like, oh, man, they can't breathe. Everything on fire. The sister gets crushed. The brother's like, no, Leah, no. And he like runs over there. He like tries to save her, get out of the debris. And then the Christian Bale, he sees that everything is burning, right? So he grabs the mom and he takes her outside to safety. And then he goes back and he's trying to get Poe. And as he's untying Poe, another beam, pretty much the second floor, falls on top of the brother and the sister. They're gone. They didn't survive that. So he grabs Poe and he takes him out of there and the building burns down. And Poe wakes up in the hospital. And he's like, oh, what happened? What happened? Did we figure it out? Did we solve the case? Did we solve the case? And Christian Bale's like, yeah. You helped me crack the case, bro. It was these rich people. They were worshiping the devil. I wonder how many times that's the case, but we did it. And they died in the fire. And he's like, oh no, Leah, no, she was so beautiful and fine. Oh, she was so fine. But anyway, he's recovering, right? Poe's in the hospital, he's recovering. So Poe's recovering. The case has been solved. They figure out who killed these kids, who took their hearts. It was the rich people. And the principal of the school, he looks at Christian Bale because at some points they were having like disagreements, right? And then he tells him, he's like, look, man, if I was ever mean to you or disagreed with the way you do things and things like that, I'm sorry. You're the best. I love you, Christian Bale. And he's like, thank you for solving the case. Thank you for saving us and bringing peace to the valley or whatever it is. And he's like, thank you, Christian Bale. And he starts wrapping up. And Christian Bale, he leaves the academy. And when he goes home, which is like he has his own cabin in the woods somewhere, Poe, right? Poe's in the hospital. And the thing about Poe is like, the reason people didn't like him is because he was very involved with death, cemeteries, this and that. And he at one point he says when he was a kid, his mother would come and talk to him in his dreams. Things would develop in his mind while he slept, and this and that, whatever it is. This and that, blah, blah, blah. I used to say that a lot, beginning of the episodes. This and that, blah, blah, blah. And he wakes up, right? He shoots up. He sits up from his sleep. He thought of something. Something he forgot to mention. Something about the case. Something about the murders. And he goes to Christian Bale's house. Christian Bale sees him. He's like, Poe. And he comes on in. So Poe comes in. And he's like, there's something I have to talk to you about. I don't remember what accent he has. He's like, there's something I thought about, right? Something about the letter. And whatever it is, he gives him his idea. And he tells him, I think you knew what the letter said all along. And he's like, really? Why? Why is that? And then somehow Poe had ended up talking to this girl that Bale was dating / seeing. All right, she was like, she worked at the tavern. He's like, I talked to her and she told me everything. So it turns out the case that was the case wasn't the case at all. There was something else. And he's like, I figured it out and I want you to tell me the truth. And this is the story. This is what happened. Christian Bale, right? Poe asked Christian Bale, did he have a daughter? And Christian Bale told her that she left. She ran away, she was gone. But it turns out that wasn't true. What happened is one night, his daughter, she was attacked. She was attacked by 3 men. And something happened. Something happened that changed her life forever. You could assume what it is. And they left her there for dead, right? In the woods, on this bridge in the middle of the woods. They left her there for dead. But when Christian Bale went looking for her, he found her. She was like crying, sobbing, trying to make her way back home. And he grabbed her. He hugged her. And he took her home. He took care of her. And she handed, when she was fighting off the guys, she handed him a piece of his uniform, right? And that's how Christian Bale was able to figure out who these kids were. After his daughter got better, one day she went to the edge of a cliff, like out in the woods, out on the icy, snowy rocks. She went to the edge of the cliff and she told her, and the dad's like, Maddie, her name's Maddie. He's like, Maddie, no. Maddie, what are you doing? Don't do this. Come home, babe. Come home, baby, please. Maddie, no. And she's like, I love you, Dad. She says, I love you, Dad. And she lets herself go, right? She throws herself off that cliff. And Christian Bale swore, what did he swear? He swore he'll get him, right? That's all you need. That's all you need. I promise you I'll get him. I promise you you'll rest, you know? He sets himself with this mission. I promise you you'll rest. I promise you you'll find peace. So it wasn't the rich people that sacrificed to the devil that killed those people. It was Christian Bale. It was Christian Bale hunting down the young men that assaulted his daughter. And this just happened to play perfectly into his plan. He said the first guy that he killed, he knew his name because of the piece of the uniform. And as he was killing him, he gave him the name of one other one. And then as he killed that one, he gave him the name of the last one. And Poe, because Christian Bale is telling him this story. He's like, this is what happened, and I killed these guys. And then this case, I was able to work it perfectly. I worked this case perfectly into this other thing, and that's how I got away with it. And they took the fall for that. And Edgar Allan Poe, he's hearing this story, right? He's hearing the story of this person that he looked up to, who he thought was amazing, a detective, and he was cool. Maybe like a big brother figure, or like a cool guy that's dating your mom, whatever it is. And he's like, oh, this guy's so cool. And we're friends and we're working together. But now this person that he trusted so much, that he looked up to, is telling him this horrible, do I want to say horrible? He's telling him this intense story. And he has tears in his eyes, right? Poe's crying. But Poe, even though he's crying, even though he's shocked from this story, he understands. He understands it. He said, I understand this and that, but I wouldn't have gone to the lengths that you did. And he's like, upset with Christian Bale, right? But he understands. He understands, and he says, like, Leia, right? Because he loved Leia. That's also a big problem. He's like, she died because you were on this mission, and I loved her. And now she'll always be remembered as the girl that worshiped the devil or whatever, right? The crazy girl. And then Christian Bale's like, none of us will be remembered forever. We'll all fade away, this and that. And he's like, no, I'll never forget. And I'll never forget how you played us all as a fools. I'll never forget as you played us all as fools. But I was your prize fool, right? He's upset because he didn't figure it out until the very end. Or he played him, right? He played him as a fool. He's someone he trusted. Christian Bale says, from the first moment that I met you, I knew that you would be the one I trust. And I knew that you would be the one I'd tell this story to. If you want me to say I'm sorry, I will. And Poe says, no, I want answers. And he says, how did you know that the first person is the one that assaulted your daughter? And he held up the piece of his uniform that she had ripped when it happened. And that's how I knew. And that's how I knew where to find him. Christian Bale gives him the answers, gives him the story. And then Poe asks him, so what now? And then the reason that Poe figured it out is because he had a letter from Christian Bale. And the writing and the letters matched up exactly to the piece of a letter that he found on the boy's hand. So Poe says, what, so what now? So what now? And Christian Bale's like, well, I guess you tell him, and I'm off to the gallows, right? To get hung or to die. And he hands him the letter, right? So Poe, he's like, look, Poe, I got my revenge. Pretty much what he's saying is, I got my revenge, and it's up to you what happens next. And Poe takes the letter, and he stands up, and he understands it's entirely up to him. And he holds the letter over a candle. And the only piece of evidence that will get him in trouble is destroyed. It's gone. Because even though Poe knows that's crazy, he understands. He's crying. He makes his way to the door, but he turns around and he says, with tears, he's trying to fight his emotions, and he says, I'll show treasure what we. And he swallows and he looks at Nandor, Christian Bale. He looks at Christian Bale. He does a hard swallow and he looks at Christian Bale. And he knows he doesn't have to say the rest. And he says, goodbye, Christian Bale. And he walks out the door. And then Christian Bale, he goes to the same cliff that his daughter threw herself off of. It's a very serious moment. And he has a ribbon, the last ribbon from her dress that he left her. He has it. And we had seen it throughout the movie. We didn't know what it was. We just thought he was wrapping his hands, or we just thought he was wrapping something up, or he was fiddling with this piece of cloth. But now we know it's a ribbon from her dress. So he's on the cliff that she threw herself from, and he lets it go into the wind. Symbolically, the business is over. Symbolically, she can rest. She can be at peace. And that was The Pale Blue Eye. With Christian Bale as a detective private eye, Edgar Allen Poe as a young cadet trying to solve these mysteries. That's what I'm about. I hope you guys enjoyed the story. I hope I did it justice. I want to get on here and talk about movies more often. I've been a little busy. I'll tell you guys later why. I hope you guys enjoyed the episodes. I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. I hope you guys are listening. I hope you guys like movies. I hope you're having fun. Check out the podcast on the Cine-Ops podcast on YouTube. The link is in the bio. Link is somewhere around here. I got merch. There's a link for that. I got YouTube. The Cine-Ops is on YouTube. If you want to follow there, you want to just hear here. If you want to hear it here, it's a good time. I love movies. I love you. I'll see you next time.